and welcome to Rolling with Two. I'm Will, and with me as always is the dice-delving dynamo herself,
Sarah.
And today we're doing a two-player perspective and accessibility for Dice Miner. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right, over 3 rounds, players will draft dice from the mountain to add to their hoard. There are 5 types of dice, and each die has different faces that score in different ways. Your goal is to score as many points as you can at the end of each round before your dice hoard is re-rolled and drafting begins again. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. All right, Will, so how does the rules change for 2 players?
There are no changes for a two-player game.
Nope.
In fact, there is not even a Dwarven Nanoman to play with. So, he's not a thing.
All right, so what is the issue that we found?
So the only issue we found is since you're playing with the same number of dice and the dice get split up evenly, each player in a 2-player game is playing with more dice. What this ultimately comes out to being is larger swings when it comes to scoring. So if you don't mind big, large swings, 2-player is going to be fine, especially considering how short this game is.
Yeah, it's an issue, but I don't think it's too much of an issue, but it is something to be aware of. Higher player counts, each person gets fewer dice, so there's going to be less variance between the players.
Yeah, let's just say, oh, there's no catch-up mechanic. Well, yes, there is, sort of, depending on how things roll out for you.
Yeah, it's the luck of the dice, really. All right, so what it does very well, like many games at a 2-player count, it's very tactical, going back and forth. I draft a dice, Will drafts a dice. You know, you go back and forth, and so you're very careful about where you take those dice from the mountain.
Yeah.
And so it may be easier to get what you want if you can, like, set it up so that you take something that you, and then, like, below it is something you think your opponent's going to want, and then below that's something you want. So they might be able to kind of set it up, I guess, kind of thing.
Yeah, and then there's also this sharing beer token so that you can actually have more choices along the sides of the dice to, well, I'm going to thwart your setup of me forcing to get you what you want. But it's done in a very nice, friendly, positive way because I'll pick a beer die, which actually does me nothing. But in order for me to get that ability of taking 2 dice, I have to roll it and give it to someone else.
Yes.
So I could actually be giving them something they really could use.
And if you, depending on what round you do it, that die is now part of that other person's hoard, and so it will get re-rolled at the end of the round and could be something else the next round, something useful.
Yes.
So there's that. And then I guess conversely to the negative of it being swingy, well, because in a 2-player game you get more dice, you get more game. You can just do more and score higher.
Yeah, you'll see your best scores at 2 players.
That's true. All right, I think that covers the 2-player experience. So let's go over accessibility. Some of the color choices for the dice, and the icons on the dice are etched, but they don't have a very distinct color from the dice. It's not like a high contrast. So sometimes they're a little hard to see. Most people should be fine. The red icons on the black are a pale red. So I know red and black are a colorblind issue for a lot of people. Hopefully this one won't be because it's not that deep red. That's just like a, how do you call it? Same shade as black.
Yeah.
It's a bit paler, so should be some contrast there.
Also, at a glance, the blue and green dice, they're pretty close in shades.
Yes.
That Sarah was even having a problem.
I'm not colorblind, and I had issues with that. And now it's just at a glance, because once you look at the icons on the dice, they're different. The blue dice are the magic, so there's like bunches of circles. And on the green dice, it's tools and treasure chests. So they're very different icons, but at a glance, it's very easy to mix them up color-wise. I will also say that pouring the dice onto the mountain at the beginning of each round can be a bit challenging, even for someone who doesn't have mobility issues.
If you're coordinationally challenged, it can be a messy procedure.
I understand they're going for the experience of, taking the bag and pouring it and seeing these dice fall down this mountain. you may just want to take a couple handfuls at a time without looking at it, because that's the whole thing. You want it random, and just kind of smush them onto the mountain and then take off the ones that are too high or something like that.
Or you just make a mess.
Or you just make a mess, and everything that falls off the mountain just goes back in the bag anyway, and that's that's your fun dice rolling experience or something.
Yeah, so it can have a kinesthetic appeal.
Yes. Or frustration, depending.
Yes, depending on the type of person you are.
But conversely to all that, the great thing is it is all open information. There is nothing hidden here, so if you are having trouble with anything, hopefully someone else at the table will be able to help you.
Yep.
That's everything.
All right, for 2 players, would you recommend Dice Miner?
Yes, you do have to go in knowing that it's going to be potentially a little swingy, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed just getting a lot of dice. I mean, if you like dice, this is a way to just hoard dicing. You're hoarding dice, and it just, it's fun.
Yeah, I would say this is a great filler game that's fast for 2 players.
Yes.
And it's for those who just like chucking dice.
Yep.
Because, there's the pour on the mountain, but between rounds, any dice you've collected, you have to roll all of those. So there's a lot of dice chucking that's going on between rounds.
Exactly. And then for accessibility, I would say mostly yes. Again, open information means that most people in most situations should be fine with it.
Yeah, the open information for me definitely makes it an accessible game. I just ask some questions, know what it is. And it's not like you have a crazy amount of choices because when it comes to, if you're not using the beer ability, your choices are picking dice that aren't covered by anything.
Right.
And that's usually 2, maybe 3.
Yeah, it can
time.
potentially get to other peaks, but generally it's only a small, handful of dice at a time that you could pick from.
Right. So that keeps also the decision space fairly small.
Agreed.
And there's abilities on the...
Oh, yes. Yes, you have I think they actually call them heroes.
Yeah.
So you draft, pick, whatever. You get a hero at the beginning, which gives you unique symbols for you, which add to your hoard. They count as dice that you never have to roll. They're just always those symbols.
Yeah, that actually makes strategies accessible.
Yes.
So just figured why I mentioned it in accessibility.
Agreed.
All right. Well, that will do it for us. And Sarah, what is the mountain range that you mine in called?
I have no idea.
Mine is the Double Dice Peaks.
Okay.
Because there's 2 peaks and when you start at the little mountain.
Oh, that's true. There are 2 peaks at the beginning of the game.
Yes.
Okay.
And why would you ever roll with just 1 when you can be rolling with 2? And remember, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling with 2. That's TWO. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
And if you have time, check out the other content Nanaman has found for you. Because remember, he's rolling with you.